Hey everybody, it's Zoronden here. This is going to be my Starcraft 2 Legacy of the Void Blizzcon overview for 2014. First up, Legacy of the Void, obviously on the way. We all knew it was, but we finally got some CGI and story details, and it looks fantastic. The Protoss are going to try and retake Ire, and here comes the Xel'Naga, Amon, to retake the universe or destroy it or whatever. Some serious stuff is about to go down. Anyways, let's talk about the different things being added. First up, of course, the campaign. I got to play 2 of the missions at BlizzCon, and they are very well designed, sleek, awesome, fun objectives, matching just with Wings of Liberty and Heroes of Heart of the Swarm. Hots, man. Heart of the Swarm. Anyways, looks solid. I honestly don't think much needs to be talked about that. The campaign's going to rock. Not worried about it at all. They've secondly added a new mode for multiplayer called Archon mode. 2 players control 1 base. That's pretty cool. I did manage to play it. Got off a nice little victory. So that's kind of fun as well. But the real interesting things we want to get into is, of course, multiplayer units and changes. First up, you are now going to spawn with 12 drones, not 6. That is going to cut the early game downtime way out of there. I mean, 12 drones to start with is nuts. I mean, say goodbye to 6 pool. It's now 12 pool minimum. So some really crazy changes there. We'll see if that will last. Again, this is all pre-alpha stuff, so nothing here is certainly in the game yet. But it is a crazy change. Your economy blows up right away. It's rather absurd. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about units. I do have a chart here pulled up because I can't remember all of them. All right, first up, they have a... Let's talk about the Protoss. The Disruptor is using the old model from Heroes of the Heart of the Swarm that was going to be the Sentinel or something. I don't remember what it was called, but it cloned other troops. So it's the same model. But what this Disruptor does is it goes into a group of units and blows up sort of like this wave of energy. It's meant to be a harassment kind of type unit. But it's very vulnerable when after it's done its ability. I think it's immune while it's doing its ability. It's an interesting unit. I need to see some pros play with it or something. I don't really know the potential of it yet. I don't even know how fast it is because it looked pretty slow in the videos they show. So, not sure how that one's going to play in. That is the only new Protoss unit on the table right now. They did say that they're working with some others. So, hopefully we get at least 2 for the Protoss. It is their expansion after all. There has been a bunch of changes made to units, though. The Warp Prism can now pick up units from range, which is really cool for harassment. The Tempest can only attack ground now. Does have a charged up ability that can attack air, though. It like puts a big ball of energy on them, and then over time, it's like a dot. It does damage over time. The Oracle, they have merged 2 of its abilities, the Envision and... Oh man, I don't remember the other ability. But they merged the 2 abilities, so now you can reveal and envision like a cloaked unit that comes in, and you'll be able to see it as it retreats or whatever. So pretty cool. A very basic, obvious merger of the 2 abilities, as envision wasn't used too much. The Immortal has lost hard shield as a standard ability or a passive. It now has an activatable ability. I don't know what that's called, but it creates massive damage reduction. So if you micro your Immortals right, they can actually theoretically do things they couldn't do before. And that's what this whole expansion is about. They want to add more micro, which I love. It's going to make pro games so exciting. And finally, the Carrier. The Carrier can now deploy all of its interceptors to a target location, and they will sit there and fight. And I don't know the duration of this time, because once they're shot out of the Carrier can rebuild the squadron. Very cool. It's going to hopefully get the Carrier into the metagame and used by pros, you know. Next up, let's talk about the Terran. First off, Terran does have 2 new units. The Cyclone. The Cyclone is a mech unit built out of the factory, and it has a lock-on ability, and once it's locked on, it shoots off missiles, rapid fire, air, ground, buildings, whatever, and it can move while doing this. This is a massive harassment unit. Watched a pro match with some people playing with these units, and the player that was going against the Terran had real serious hard time dealing with the Cyclone. We're going to have to see how this fits into the metagame, but the Cyclone looks dangerous and fun. I would be surprised if he makes it into Legacy of the Void as is, though. Also, there is the Herc. The Herc is a new barracks unit with a grapple ability. The grapple ability will shoot a grappling hook out, latch onto whatever target it is, and the Herc will go right to them. It's pretty cool. Kind of the reverse of the Death Grip from the Death Knight in WoW. The Herc can also one-shot Banelings. Rather cool. The Herc does seem overpowered as well, but exciting unit. I like him. The Banshee has a new speed upgrade that will allow it to outrun any mobile detection in game. That could be very crucial for harassment. The Siege Tank can now be picked up by Medivacs while in siege mode. Only one can be picked up, but that again opens up crazy avenues for harassment. The Thor now has a auto repair ability. When taking enough damage to a certain point where you choose you want to repair your Thor, you click that, it will shut down, it can't move, it can't attack, but it will fully repair. Pretty cool. And finally, the Battlecruiser now has a warp ability. I believe it takes 125 energy, so you can only do it once per full bar. And you can warp to any place on the map, even if you don't have vision. Crazy options there, and hopefully that gets the Battlecruiser more into the meta play as well. And last but not least, let's talk about the Zerg. Zerg do have 2 new units as well. Both of them are morphs from previous units. First up, we have the Ravager. The Ravager is a morph from the Roach. It is a fairly large guy compared to the Roach, and very impressive. He has I believe they do splash damage. They shoot kind of a ball of red energy or orange energy. Does quite a bit of damage. In the Archon mode I played, I actually rolled over my enemy with a bunch of Ravagers. They also have an aerial attack, though. Okay, so they're ranged ground attacks, but they have an aerial attack ability. And what this does is it shoots a ball of energy up from their back, and then it eventually comes down somewhere on the map wherever you targeted that location. So it's going to be very good against static ground defenses and buildings, but a lot harder to hit mobile units. Slow units, like maybe a siege tank, probably going to get hit. So very cool options for him. Hopefully, again, we see a lot of meta play with the Ravager. And the other new unit that Zerg is getting isn't new. It's the Lurker. Yay! Lurker comes back from Brood War. If you're not familiar with the Lurker, it is morphed from a Hydralisk, and it burrows underground to attack and shoots a row of spines that do a lot of splash damage. Very, very cool. They also have an upgrade that allows them to do siege damage, and they can outrange cannons and I believe any static-based defense. So very cool to see the Lurker come home, and welcome back. Also, unit changes. Corruptor has had its anti-air ability. I think it's called Corruption or something. It's been removed, and they're adding in a ground, I don't know what the ability is called, but what it does is you lock onto a unit or a building, and you shoot out a green stream of like vomit, and it ramps up damage over time, kind of like the Void Ray used to do. And if the item that the Corruptor is attacking moves out of range, then the attack will stop. So it's going to be better against buildings and very slow units or immobile units. Not really good against, say, Marines or Zergling or something like that. But that is an ability that can target ground, so that's very cool. And I like the idea on it with the Corruptor. We'll see if he has enough anti-air without his other ability. The Nidus Worm has been changed so that when it's building, emerging. When you create a Nidus Worm, then you go on the app and choose wherever you want it to emerge. It will be immune until it's fully out and you can deploy units out of it. It's going to create a situation where Zerg can siege late game and do some crazy stuff. The Swarm Host has been changed as well. They no longer need to burrow to spawn the Locusts. There's an upgrade that allows Locusts to fly, however they can't attack while flying. And the rate at which Locusts have spawned has been decreased. They also can't auto-cast Locusts. They're trying to create the Swarm Host to be more of a harassment unit and less of a just utter siege, destroy everything in your path unit. So I hope that's going to work for the Swarm Host. It seems encouraging. And there's an Infestor change, which I don't remember hearing about. Let's see if I can find this really quickly. Okay, so I did have to look up the Infestor changes, but I did find the ability, and yeah, they did talk about this. It is called the Aggressive Mutation ability, and it's a flat damage bonus to allied units. So you cast it, I believe it's like a targeted area, it'll affect however many troops are in there, and they're going to do a flat rate amount more of damage. This is going to allow Zerglings and things like that to win battles they normally wouldn't win. So kind of cool option there, I like that, and that is all the changes for multiplayer and StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void. Some really crazy changes here. We'll see how it plays out in the meta. And the beta, I don't think, is too far away. So they didn't give a specific, but anybody at BlizzCon is supposedly getting a beta access key. So we'll keep our eyes on this and how it changes. And if you want to watch any of my other videos, go ahead and click the link and go back to the general video so you can check out some of those. Otherwise, I've been Zoronden. Thanks for tuning in. Please do thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll catch you all next time.